Assalamualaikum and good evening. My name is Khairill Aiman bin Abdul Karim. My metric number is E24B 3352. So today I will be presenting on the Lophophorus and Anthroprop with a specific focus on lamb shells, which belong to the phylum Brachiopoda. So lamb shells are marine invertebrates. They may look similar to bivalve uh, mollusks such as clams or mussels. However, despite this resemblance, lamb shells are biologically different and belong to a separate phylum. One of their most distinctive features is a specialized feeding structure known as the lophophore, which is characteristic of Lophophorus. So in this presentation, I will explain the structure and function, morphology and anatomy, life cycle, importance and evolutionary adaptation of lamb shells that have allowed them to survive for hundreds of millions of years. So for the first slide, let me begin with the structure and function of lamb shell. So the first point is lamb shell are marine and benthic animals. Second, their body enclosed with two valves, which is dorsal and ventral. The third one is valve are unequal but bilaterally symmetrical. So the lamb shell are benthic animal, meaning they live attached to the seafloor. So their bodies are enclosed within a hard shell that consists of two valves. Unlike bivalve mollusks, the two valves of lamb shell are arranged dorsally and ventrally rather than left and right. So for the next slide, I'm going to talk about their characteristic. So the first one is the shell, made of calcium carbonate or calcium phosphate. Second, protect the soft body parts. Third is provide structural support. And last but not least, they have two valves, which is the first one is dorsal valve, and the second one is the ventral valve, which is larger and contain pedicle opening. So the shell of a lamb shell is composed of calcium carbonate or calcium phosphate, depending on the species. So its primary function is protection, shielding the soft internal organs from predators and physical damage. So the shell also provides structural support and maintains the overall shape of the body. And the shell consists of a dorsal valve, also known as the brachial valve, and a ventral valve or pedicle valve. The ventral valve is usually larger and contains an opening through which the pedicle emerges. Second is lophophore. So the first point is crown of ciliated tentacle used for feeding and respiration. And last but not least, water currents created by cilia tract food particles. So one of the most important structures in lamb shells is the lophophore. The lophophore is a crown of ciliated tentacles that surround the mouth. Its function mainly in feeding and respiration. So the beating of cilia on the tentacles create water currents that draw microscopic food particles such as phytoplankton and organic debris so towards the mouth. So at the same time, gas exchange occurs across the surface of the lophophore and allowing the respiration. So the third one is pedicle. So the first point is muscular stalk extending from ventral valve. So second is anchors slam shell to rocks and seafloor. Last but not least, allows stability and strong current. So the pedicle is a muscular, flexible stalk that extend from the ventral valve. So its main function is to anchor the lamb shell to a solid surface, such as rocks or the seafloor. So this attachment helps the organism to remain stable in areas with strong current water. So for the next is mantle. So the first point is line the inner surface of the shell. So the function is to secrete shell material and help in respiration. Last but not least is form mantle cavity. So the mantle is a soft tissue layer that lines the inner surface of the shell. So it plays an important role in secreting shell material, allowing the shell to grow. So the mantle also helps in respiration and encloses the mantle cavity where water circulation occurs. So for the next slide, I will discuss the morphology and anatomy. So the first one is external morphology. So the first point is shell symmetry is bilateral, not left, right like the valve. So the second one, valve are dorsal and ventral. So the third one is surface may have ridges or growth lines. So for the external morphology, lamb shells show bilateral symmetry. It meaning the body can be divided into equal left and right half. However, this symmetry runs through each valve, not between the two valves. The two valves are unequal in size and shape. So the shell surface may display growth lines, ridges, or spines, depending on the species. So these features can help identify different brachiopod groups, especially in fossil specimens. So for the next is internal anatomy. So the first one is feeding system, which is they have no teeth. Second is their leucophore direct food to the mouth, and the food consists of phytoplankton and organic particles. So for the feeding system, the lamb shells does not have jaws or teeth. So the feeding occurs through the leucophore, which filters food particles from the surrounding waters. So the captured particles are transported along groove on the tentacles toward the mouth. So the second one is digestive system, complete but simple from mouth to their stomach and to their intestine. So second is some species lack an anus. And last but not least, water waste expelled through mental cavity. So for the digestive system, the digestive system is complete but simple, consisting of a mouth, stomach, and intestine. So in some species, the digestive tract ends blindly and lacks an anus. So the meaning waste is expelled through the mental cavity. So for the next point, we talk about circulatory and respiratory system. So the first point is no true heart in subspecies, and the next point is gas exchange occurs across the leucophore and mental surface. So for the circulatory and respiratory system, the lamb shell does not possess a complex circulatory system. So in many species, there is no true heart. So the gas exchange occurs mainly across the leucophore and mental surface, which are well supplied with blood vessel. So last but not least, their reproductive system. So the first one is mostly dioecious, so they have the separate sexes, and the second one is zoonate located in mental cavity. So for the reproductive system, most lamb shell species are dioecious, so meaning they have the individuals are either male or female. So the zoonate are located within the mental cavity, and the gamete are released during the reproduction. Right. So for the next slide, let's move on to the life cycle of lamb shell. So the first one is sexual reproduction. Second one, the gamete release into water. Uh, the external fertilization. So the third one, some species brood internally. And last but not least, larva attach using pedicle and develops shell. So for the reproduction, lamb shells reproduce sexually. In most species, fertilization occurs externally, where eggs and sperm are released into the surrounding seawater. However, some species brood their eggs within the mantle cavity for protection. So next is development. After fertilization, the egg develops into a free-swimming larva. So this larva stage allows dispersal to new habitats. And after a period of swimming, the larva settles onto a suitable substrate and attaches itself using the pedicle and undergoes metamorphosis into the adult form. So for the next slide, I'm going to talk about the importance of lamb shells. So lamb shells are important from ecological, paleontological, and scientific perspective. So the first one is ecological importance. So the first point is filter feeders to improve water quality. Second is part of benthic food webs. And last but not least, provide microhabitats. So for ecological importance, ecologically, themselves act as filter feeders and helping to maintain water quality by removing suspended particles. So they are also part of the benthic footwear, serving as prey for certain marine predators. So the second is paleontological importance. So the first point is extremely rich fossil record. Second is existed for 500 million years. Last but not least is important for dating rock layers and studying ancient marine environment. So for paleontological importance, from a paleontological perspective, land shells are extremely significant because they have an extensive fossil record dating back over 500 million years. Because of their abundance and diversity in the past, brachiopod fossils are widely used to date rock layers and reconstruct ancient marine environments. So for the next is scientific importance. So the first point is help scientists understand the evolution of lophophorics and marine biodiversity changes. And the next point is used in evolutionary and ecological studies. So for the scientific importance, scientifically, LEM shells provide valuable insight into evolutionary biology, especially the evolution of lophophorics. So they also are useful for studying long-term changes in marine biodiversity and environmental conditions. Okay, so finally, I will discuss the evolutionary adaptation that have allowed lamb shells to survive for millions of years. So the first one is shell design. The first point is strong protective shells. Second is resistant to predation and pressure. And last but not least is efficient hinge mechanism. So for the shell adaptation is the strong protective shell of lamb shells offers effective defense against predators and environmental stress. So the shell designs also helps withstand pressure within deeper marine environment. So for the second one is feeding strategy. So the first point is low phosphor allow efficient filter feeding and low energy consumption. The next point is advantage in nutrient poor waters. So for the feeding adaptation, the low phosphor is a highly efficient feeding structure that allows lamb shells to obtain food with low energy expenditure. So this efficiency is especially beneficial in nutrient poor waters. So for the next is habitat adaptation. So the first point is adapted to shallow to deep marine environment. The second is hard and soft substrate. So for the second point is pedicle encourage prevent displacement. So for the habitat adaptation, the pedicle allows lamb shells to securely attach to various substrate, preventing them from being swept away by currents. And their ability to inhabit a wide range of marine environments has contributed to their long-term survival. So last but not least, their long-term survival. So the first point, minimal body plan changes. Second is successful evolutionary design, and last but not least, stable niche occupation. So for the evolutionary stability, overall, lamb shells show relatively little change in their basic body plan over time. So this indicating a successful and stable evolutionary design. So for the next slide is conclusion. So in conclusion, lamb shells are unique marine invertebrates with a distinctive chlorophore feeding system and a long evolutionary history. So their structural adaptation, simple yet efficiency anatomy, and ecological rules have allowed them to survive for millions of years. So despite being less abundant today, so lamb shells remain scientifically and paleontologically significant organisms. To conclude, lamb shells, also known as brachiopods, are a unique marine invertebrates that have survived for hundreds of millions of years. So they are distinguished by their leucophore feeding system, which allows them to efficiently filter food from seawater. Although their anatomy appears simple, it is highly adapted for survival, including their strong shells and attachment structures. So lamb shells have an exceptionally long evolutionary history and have survived major extinction events. Even though they are less common in modern ocean, they were once among the most dominant marine organisms. Today, lamb shells remain important for scientific and paleontological studies because their fossil provide valuable information about ancient marine environments and evolutionary changes over time. Therefore, lamb shells are not only living organisms but also key indicators of Earth biological and environmental history. Okay, so for the next slide, this is the references that I've been using throughout this presentation. Maybe in the future or before the submission, I will add another references that I use in this presentation. So that's all from me. Thank you.